You were taught these rules by people who loved you and never once ran the numbers. Rent is throwing money away. Track every dollar. Skip the coffee. Avoid credit cards. Find your passion. None of it was malicious. All of it was wrong, or at least half true in a way that costs you real money. 7 lies. The last one isn't about money at all. It's about why the other 6 worked on you. Rent isn't the leak. The interest is. The lie, you're throwing money away on rent. The truth, the person with the mortgage is throwing money away on interest, and nobody showed them the schedule. Here's what you actually believe: that a mortgage payment is basically forced savings, and rent is just a payment that vanishes. So you feel behind every time you sign a lease. Look at an amortization table instead of a vibe. On a $400,000 loan at 7% over 30 years, by year 10, you've paid off less than 15% of the actual principal. The other 85% of every payment for a decade went to the bank, not your equity. That's not a rounding error. That's the entire structure of a mortgage. Front-loaded interest, back-loaded ownership. Here's the part nobody mentions. Rent is the maximum you'll pay that month. A mortgage is the minimum. Property tax, repairs, and insurance sit on top, uncapped. Renting isn't failure to launch. In most major metro areas right now, it's the cheaper option. Full stop. Protocol. Before you compare rent to a mortgage payment, pull up an amortization calculator and look at what year your principal payment finally overtakes your interest payment. It's later than you think. The lie, renting wastes money. The truth, unexamined interest does. Search amortization calculator. Plug in a home price you're considering and look at year 1. Just year 1. Tracking every dollar kills your budget. The lie. Discipline means logging every purchase. The truth, the system that requires the most willpower is the one you'll abandon first. You've done this. Downloaded the app, categorized 2 weeks of coffee and gas and groceries into 11 color-coded buckets, felt very in control, and then missed a Tuesday, then a weekend. Then you deleted the app and told yourself you're bad at budgeting. You weren't bad at budgeting. You built a system that required daily maintenance to function at all. And daily maintenance loses to a bad day, every time. The mechanic here isn't discipline, it's design. A system that survives your worst week beats a system that only works on your best one. Now flip it. The goal was never to know exactly what you spent on pretzels. The goal was to know if your big numbers are under control: housing, debt, transportation. Those 3 usually decide your financial life. The pretzels don't. Protocol: pick your 3 biggest recurring costs this week and check them against your take-home pay as percentages. Ignore everything under $20 for now. The lie: track everything. The truth: track what actually moves the number. Open your bank app right now and find just one number: your total housing cost as a percentage of what you actually take home. Coffee was never making you rich. The lie: small daily cuts compound into wealth. The truth: one good decision beats 1,000 small acts of self-denial. And you already know this because you've tried the other way. You've tried the latte cutting thing, maybe for 3 days. Then you bought the coffee anyway and felt like you'd failed a test that was never worth taking. Here's the actual math. Cut $200 a month in coffee and takeout completely for 30 straight years, and you save around $72,000, assuming you never once slip. Compare that to negotiating a single salary increase, or buying a car $10,000 cheaper than the one you almost got. or refinancing a loan at the right moment. Any one of those can match or beat 3 decades of perfect deprivation in a single afternoon of effort. This is the same problem as the last lie, wearing different clothes. A system that depends on daily willpower loses to a system that only asks for one good decision. Protocol. Pick one upcoming large purchase or renewal: a car, an insurance policy, a subscription bundle, and spend 30 minutes comparing options before you buy. The lie: small cuts build wealth. The truth: big decisions do. Name one subscription or bill renewing in the next 30 days, and go check if a better rate exists before it renews. Credit cards aren't the danger. Blind spots are. The lie: credit cards are dangerous. Full stop. The truth: an unpaid balance is dangerous. The card itself is just a tool that rewards the person who can see their own numbers clearly. You've heard "avoid credit cards" your whole life, usually from someone who got burned once and generalized it into a law. So, debt and credit cards feel like the same word. Here's the mechanic. Card issuers charge interest, often above 20%, only on a balance you carry past the due date. Pay the statement in full every cycle, and that number is irrelevant to you. It applies to someone else's balance, not yours. This is exactly the visibility problem from lie number 2. The danger was never the tool. It was not knowing where you stood. Here's the part nobody mentions. The interest rate on a card only becomes real math once there's a balance sitting there past the due date. Before that, it's a number that doesn't touch you at all. Protocol. Check whether your card is set to autopay the full statement balance, not just the minimum. If it isn't, fix that setting today. The lie: the card is the risk. The truth: not tracking the balance is. Open your card's app and confirm autopay is set to full statement balance, not minimum due. Picking hot stocks is a coin flip. The lie: someone out there is reliably picking winners. The truth: you're only hearing about the wins, never the losses that funded them. Someone you know made a great return on one investment last year and told you all about it. They didn't mention the other bets that went to zero, because nobody leads with that story. Here's the mechanic worth knowing regardless of what you invest in. A well-known Putnam Investments study tracking a 15-year stretch of market returns found that missing just the 10 single best trading days in that entire period dropped an investor's annualized return to roughly the level of inflation, essentially erasing the gains. Miss the 30 best days, and the return goes negative. Those best days cluster right next to the worst ones, which is what makes timing the exit and the re-entry so hard to pull off twice in a row. Now flip it. You don't have to correctly guess 2 dates in a row if you're never trying to guess in the first place. Staying in means you're there by default for the days that matter most. Protocol. If you've been holding cash waiting for the right moment, pick a specific date this month to act regardless of headlines and write it down. The lie: timing wins. The truth: staying in does. Put a date on your calendar right now for whatever financial move you've been waiting on the right time to make. The small fee is your biggest expense. The lie: 1% is basically nothing. The truth: 1% compounding against you for 30 years is one of the largest numbers on this entire list. You see a management fee listed as a small percentage and mentally file it next to a tip. Annoying, but not worth fighting over. Nobody sends you a bill for it, so it never feels like spending. Run the worked example. Someone investing $500 a month for 30 years at a 7% return, paying a 1% fee, ends up with roughly $653,000. The same contributions in a fund charging 0.1% instead end up around $795,000. That's a $142,000 gap, created entirely by a number that looked too small to question. This is the same leak as the coffee lie, except it's invisible instead of optional. You never see it happen, so you never feel the urge to fix it. This is exactly why MoneyFlow's investment tracker shows contributed versus current value side by side. It makes a gap like that visible, instead of buried in a statement you never open. Links in the description. Protocol: find the expense ratio or fee percentage on whatever you're currently invested in. It's public information, and it's almost never where you'd expect to look. The lie: the fee is too small to matter. The truth: it's too small to notice, which is worse. Look up the fee on one account you hold right now. Not later, right now, while you're already thinking about it. Passion follows skill, not the other way around. The lie: find your passion and the money follows. The truth: competence comes first, almost every time, and passion shows up after you're good enough to get paid. You've waited for the lightning bolt moment, the thing you're supposed to love so much. The money becomes a formality. It doesn't usually arrive, so you stay in a holding pattern, waiting for permission that was never coming. Here's the mechanic. Most people don't start passionate about a skill. They start mediocre at something useful, get better at it under real pressure, a client, a deadline, a paycheck, and the passion arrives afterward, attached to competence and results. Photography isn't just the photos. It's marketing yourself, handling a difficult client, editing at midnight. Loving the craft and being able to run it as work are two different skills, and only one of them pays rent. This is the same mistake as lie number 1, wearing different clothes. Waiting for the right moment, the right passion, the right home purchase, costs more than acting on an ordinary one now. Protocol: instead of asking what you're passionate about, write down one thing you're already decent at that someone would pay for, and spend 1 hour this week getting slightly better at it. The lie: passion comes first. The truth: skill does, and passion follows it. Write down one skill you already have that someone would pay you for. One sentence. Do it before you close this video. Renting isn't the leak, the mortgage interest is. Tracking everything is why budgets die in 2 weeks. Coffee was never the problem. Credit cards aren't dangerous, blind spots are. Picking winners is a coin flip. That 1% fee is the quiet, expensive one. And passion follows skill. It doesn't lead it. None of these lies were told to hurt you. They just never got checked against the math. If you want an easier way to see your own numbers instead of guessing at them, MoneyFlow tracks your spending, debt, and net worth without linking your bank account. Links below.